In the fall of 1987, the Kahnawá Sports Complex opened for the first time after nearly 2 years of construction. Kahnawá's first and only arena celebrates its 25th anniversary this year, and so many people are to be thanked for the arena being here today. In fact, there are so many people who played a role in getting us the sports complex, we don't want to leave anybody's name out. However, we still needed to do a story on the 25th anniversary, so we asked two guys to represent the many who helped get the facility here.
Well, actually, it wasn't necessarily my committee, but there was a committee there prior to, headed up by Darlene Alfred. She was working as the recreation person at the time, and they formulated an arena committee to start raising funds for the committee. I stepped in only later. Once I got elected to council, I took over that position, both the recreation and the president of the committee. You know.
And Kenny, what were was there a high demand in the community for an arena?
Oh, there was a lot of talk. I say it's maybe going back to the 60s when we were playing on Lachine as well as Chateauguay. There was always a talk that came up, but again, to actually follow up and do the construction or the finances, it was quite hard.
Just to add to that, I recall when we used to play hockey in Lachine, we used to catch the Monette bus, head down to 6th Avenue, walk up to 19th Avenue and play our hockey, church league up there. And we could never get started until ice was formed here on the ponds. We always ended up in last place come December, but from December on, once we got onto the ice, all our kids would really get into it, and we'd work our way gradually up to the top for second place by the time hockey season ended. So we seen that there was a need there. If we could get on the ice the same time as all the other kids, it would probably help us out a lot.
Just talk about the finances and how the finances were achieved to build this arena.
Well, it started out by drinking a lot of beer. We've had sponsorships from Labatt's, and they would always contribute cases of beer, so we would have to look at different ways to sell that to make a profit that we would be able to put that money into our fund, our arena fund. And it took quite a long time to reach a substantial amount of money. It just didn't look like it was going to be realistic in our lifetime.
Well, as Wally mentioned, I recall about 5 years of very, very small events such as golf tournaments and raffles and things like that. And I think after 5 years we accumulated maybe $50,000, which was a small amount to make it a down payment on the architectural group who eventually decided to take responsibility and do the drawings. So it was just really the big turnaround, and the big help was, I would say, the council of between 82 and 86 who really took the project seriously. Joe Norton was the chief. He led the council at the time to seriously look and solicit funds, and we ended up getting programs, mostly make-work programs for construction and labor, not so much capital. And then things fell into place, and we were able to seriously begin the construction.
If I can recall correctly, it was 1985 when we were ready to start digging. We got the word to go ahead, and we ran into problems once we did start the work. We ran into rock. We didn't know that there was going to be that much rock in this site. Prior tests, I guess, didn't tell us that, so it set us back 1 year anyways. We had to close down for the winter. This hole over here was about 15 feet deep, and it was filled with water in the spring. Starting when we had to start work in the springtime, we had to drain that water out. 15 feet of water. There was guys riding around in there with boats.
Talk about all the different events that go on here.
Well, I guess it's quite obvious at the beginning that the priority was to have, of course, our own lacrosse programs. Secondly, followed by hockey programs. I think the third biggest group to join here was like figure skaters, which are very successful today. And then afterwards, we broke down into, we had trade shows, we had concerts here, we had boxing and wrestling and cage combat. We had the circus. The biggest thing that stays in my mind is when the 90 crisis had just ended. And even prior to the end of it, we had the Army helicopters landing here in the parking lot because the facility was used as a meeting place, as well as housing of foods, because we put, I wouldn't say tons, but a lot of food, hundreds of pounds of food onto the ice because we kept the ice in. But as you know, we were not moving for like 78 days or so. And when the crisis broke, we almost didn't have a hockey season. I remember a good friend of mine, Steve Shutt, who was a Hall of Famer at Montreal Canadiens. He came down and did a free clinic for all of our kids to show the public and the media that it was safe to come back to Kahnawá, and then followed, weeks later with again another hockey season. But that was a big turning point. It was a 90 crisis, And then of course afterwards we had different events which were done privately. Nothing outrageous. But I think all in all, the building served for 25 years as a big asset to Kahnawá for whatever reason we had as far as sporting and social activities. I know at one point we had the rain location for the powwow. I think at one point over 3 years we did house one day of rain session because the island was too muddy and too stormy. So things like that just really went quick, and here we are 25 years later.
All right, looking back on 25 years, what do you remember most about the sports complex?
I myself use the facility for the walking track inside in the winter time when it's too cold to walk outside, so that's been very useful for myself.
The bar. Put the beer back there and it'll be the best place to sit.
Oh, when the night Boston and Canadiens had the alumni hockey game with Stan Jonathan and Pierre Boucher. Remember when they shook their hands for the first time? That's the first time. And when they the people that were in there, it was so, you could feel the electricity. That's what I like. That's my best ever seen of people at a sports complex. When we had that. That was the best.
With my dad, we just had a big thing up for him at the opening of Iroquois. What was it? Iroquois National, whatever. The camping. And they gave him a sweater with all the signatures now. So we still see him there. He's always at lacrosse games. And I'm taking his moat over.
Well, my favorite moment is watching my sisters, Waihawi and Sconio, figure skate and defeat the great Neil McCumber. In an amazing competition. There was blood, there was tears, and it was amazing. It was heartbreaking at times, but in the end they emerged triumphant, and it was spectacular, and that's my favorite moment.
I was there when Junior Tremblay had a breakaway and almost scored on his own net when he was playing for the Kahnawá Gunners. But on the positive side, I wasn't there, but I always remember hearing about Junior scoring the first goal ever at the sports complex with an assist from our own Neil McCumber.
Number one would be seeing my son playing for the Kahnawá Condors. Number two would be being part of Kahnawá Mohawks at the President's Cup. And I guess number three would be Kahnawá being part of the committee that hosted the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships.
Can you just give us your favorite moments of the sports complex history?
Well, actually, it falls in line with the reason why we built the facility in the beginning, which was to encourage hockey and get our teams on the ice earlier. But one thing that I had always wanted to see along with that was for us to get a junior team in Kahnawá. And I think that's one of the achievements that was accomplished by us having this facility here. Kind of proud of it. This is something that I look forward to way back when. And all our kids have shown now that they're capable of making these teams, juniors, and then some getting as close to NHL as there's a few people that have been close.
And just your general feeling 25 years later, what do you think? Explain how you feel being so involved with it all that time.
Well, of course, I feel a little older, but I think the important thing to realize is that having the involvement of course, our children and adults as well, that's something that is probably most important. If we went 25 years of hockey, kids growing up, girls, figure skating. That's 25 years of these kids being off the street and doing something else negative, okay? I know we have some who developed into great athletes. Now we have people going to university for lacrosse and hockey. This is probably the biggest year we've ever had in lacrosse in our history of Kahnawá lacrosse. We've got now Man Cup winners, Minto Cup winners, President Cup winners, Founders Cup winners that we never had during our career. And we played probably 20 years together, Wally and I. We came real close a few times, bridesmaids, but we never had the big final.
Congratulations to the Kahnawá Sports Complex on 25 years. It's been a staple in the community, and we